Hi, everyone, and welcome to this 10-minute take from UST and Technology Advice. I'm Webb Webster, Associate Director of Content at Technology Advice, and I'm thrilled today to be joined by Sripathi Jagannathan. He is a data engineering practice lead at UST and a seasoned technology leader with over 25 years of experience spanning application development, enterprise integration, and data engineering. In our conversation today, Sri is going to share how generative and agentic AI are reshaping the role of the data engineer, from things like automating repetitive tasks to creating self-optimizing pipelines and enabling more strategic AI-driven decision-making. So if you are looking for ways to simplify your data ecosystem and evolve your engineering practice using AI, you're in the right place. So let's jump right in.
Thanks, Webb. AI is disrupting data engineering, and it is something that is happening right now. It's not something that's going to be happening in the future. It's going to evolve. It's going to impact a lot more areas in data engineering. It's also impacting data engineering across the spectrum, across the ingestion to insights pipeline. So there are several areas as a result where AI is disrupting data engineering. The first one that comes to mind is the automation of repetitive tasks. AI will handle ingestion. AI is handling ingestion, transformation, testing, the monitoring. It's overall reducing the amount of manual effort that data itself entailed. There are natural language interfaces being developed as a result of the AI disruption. So workflows are now being defined in plain English. We are moving into a more declarative approach to defining what needs to be done rather than how it is being done. AI is generating the pipelines and code. So with the advent of large language models, we have the ability to generate and debug pipelines. Engineers can focus on the validation and the orchestration rather than worry about the core or writing code. We also have smarter observability and data contracts. One of the key challenges with data pipelines is what's referred to as schema drift. AI can auto-detect schema drifts, anomalies, and lineage breaks, and it can overall boost trust in data platforms and data pipelines. AI is also forcing us to shift our thinking to a more semantic and product-focused approach. So engineers have to act as data product owners rather than developers who are implementing requirements. So we are focused on understanding and prioritizing domain value and focusing on governance. And AI is actually making us do that. The tooling ecosystem is evolving. It would be actually some stating the obvious and saying that AI native platforms are emerging, and legacy tools that do not account for AI are basically going to become obsolete. So we are going to look at only tools. We are going to adopt tools that either are AI native or are AI enabled. All of this is resulting in a reimagining of the human role. Engineers are moving away from the building and operating role that we've had to a more designing and advising kind of role. So that's, in a nutshell, how I would summarize how AI is disrupting the data engineering ecosystem. So execution is being augmented by AI, while judgment, prioritization, and most importantly, the understanding of context, these will continue to remain deeply human activities.
You mentioned that AI is automating repetitive tasks in data engineering. So in your experience, which specific tasks lend themselves best to automation right now? And then obviously, which still require stronger human oversight?
As I said, anything that is execution focused, meaning the coding of pipelines, understanding requirements, documentation, all of these things can actually be automated or augmented with AI. And anything that requires oversight and judgment will continue to be human activities. Things like If you are looking at a model, if you're looking at developing a model, the development of the database model itself can be, you can use AI to accelerate the development of the model, but deciding if that's the model that you want to go with, making sure that that model meets business outcomes and can meets business requirements, that's a judgment, that's a call that humans will be making, and humans will continue to make, and that's how you really want to go forward as well.
Next, let's talk about how IT should be responding to AI's impact in data engineering. Shri, walk us through some of those best practices.
So when you look at how AI is disrupting data engineering, that those areas where AI is disrupting data engineering, those are the areas that you want to be able to address. Which means that the most important area that you want to do is you want to shift your mindset from a project delivery to a product thinking and value realization. You want to make sure that you're measuring not completion or development of a requirement, you're measuring the impact of what you've built. So that focusing on business aligned outcomes is going to be your primary space that you need to focus on. You also are forced to upskill as data strategists, meaning you have to become product owners. You need to understand how you are going to redesign your organization. What are the new roles that are going to be put in place? For example, the data engineer and data scientist, these have been distinct, different, very clearly scoped roles. These are now merging. There's blurring happening where you have this new role of an AI engineer coming up. And what the AI engineer does is leverages AI to automate the building of that entire pipeline and the generation of insights. So that redefinition of roles and responsibilities is something that needs to be done. You have to modernize your platform strategy. You have got to invest in AI native and code assisted platforms. You've got to strengthen your governance and contracts. You've got to treat governance as a first class citizen. You've got to make sure that you are using AI to enforce SLAs, you're enforcing quality, you're making sure that data quality rules can be sensed using AI. And your compliance requirements, your regulatory compliance requirements, leverage AI to make sure that you're meeting those more effectively. Most important of these, I would also say, another thing that is very important among these is definitely the prompt and model literacy. So you've got to make sure that you institutionalize it. What that means is you've got to train teams on prompt engineering. Teams cannot basically be doing things the way they were doing before. They need to understand how can they leverage LLMs? How does an LLM behave? What are RAG applications? What are agents? How do you actually make sure that you prompt get the best results from AI? That needs to be institutionalized. That's not a secondary skill. That's your primary skill going forward. You've got to accelerate observability and metadata ops. What I mean by accelerating is for a long time, data ops and observability was about acquiring data from logs and processing that. You've got to move away from that. You've got to make sure you're operationalizing AI to observe. So if you're using the AI to observe it, AI can now detect things that you couldn't possibly detect through logs and log information. So that needs to be done. Finally, you've got to make sure that you're augmenting or you're creating an AI augmented delivery model, right? It's not about saying that if you're looking at a data migration project or a data platform migration from one source technology to a target technology, it's not about identifying the effort and saying these are the so many resources who will be doing it. It's like you've got to really think about it from the perspective of how do I leverage AI in this development lifecycle, in that migration, and making sure not just that roles are reimagined, but you're accounting for the fact that AI is going to be doing a lot of that work. And if AI is going to be doing that work, what's the verification and validation process? So those are the areas that I think that's how I think that data engineering teams and organizations need to respond to the AI disruption that's occurring.
You mentioned data engineers shifting into roles like product owner and strategist. So, what's your advice for teams and team members who are making those transitions? How should IT organizations be rethinking team structures as these roles become necessarily more strategic?
Great question. So I'll answer this from two aspects, right? One is the individual, the team member, and then the teams itself, how the organization must respond. So when you look at individuals, I would say individuals need to understand very specifically the fact that the traditional data engineer role in terms of being understanding requirements and then building those pipelines, writing the code. So their skills have mostly our skills have mostly been on, do I understand Spark? Do I understand Trino? How do I learn PySpark and Scala? Which programming language should I learn? What's the trend? That's really been the focus. Going forward, that won't be the focus. That is going to be almost irrelevant because you're going to have AI do most of it. So what are you going to focus on? You're really going to focus on understanding how AI can be leveraged to do those tasks and where are the gaps and how do you address those gaps from a human perspective, which means that those gaps generally lie in understanding of the context, understanding of the outcomes that the business is trying to achieve, and aligning yourself with that. Get a very good sense of the domain, get a deep understanding of the domain that you are in. That is going to be very critical. It's not, you can no longer say I have a very superficial understanding of a particular domain. If you're in retail, you need to understand it as well as the business does. Only then will you be able to understand how to leverage AI to do it. That is from the individual's perspective. From an organization's perspective, you really need to reimagine how your organization is structured and how you're going to incorporate AI in the entire development lifecycle. Right? So when your organization is structured, you have this traditional structures of architects and designers and business analysts and systems analysts and project managers, program managers, and technical writers and developers, etc. That needs to be reimagined. You need to look at how can what of those tasks and what of those activities are going to be taken up by AI and what's going to be left for humans to do. And that's restructuring is what needs to happen from an organization perspective.
These have all been really great insights, and it's clear that navigating this shift really isn't about tools, but more about and almost primarily about data strategy and structure and reskilling. So, folks, with that, that is a wrap on our 10-minute take. Shri, it's been great hearing about UST and how it is pushing the boundaries of what's possible with data engineering and AI. Now, before we go, where can folks go to learn more about the work that you and your team are doing at UST?
Thank you, Webb. It was a pleasure. And yes, if folks are interested to learn about what UST is doing in the data engineering space, please do visit our website, ust.com. There's a separate section, a microsite on data engineering and analytics. You can visit that. There's also our other products that we have, products and platforms that we have from a data engineering perspective. So I would start with ust.com, and from there you should be able to access all of the information that we have.
Excellent. I really appreciate your time and this conversation today. And thank you to everyone who has tuned in. We hope that you're walking away with some fresh ideas, whether it's using AI to simplify your data workflows or rethinking your engineers' roles or just spotting new opportunities on how to get more use and better strategic use out of your data stack. Thanks again for spending a few minutes with UST and technology advice. Take care, and we'll see you next time.